Good evening to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is an important editorial. It is all about euthanasia or mercy killing. So, what does it mean, euthanasia? It means killing a person who is very old or who is suffering a lot so that it does not suffer further. So, this is an important editorial. You may get as a passage either in prelims or in mains. And there are a few words you can learn from this editorial, not too many words. Let us go to today. I have brought questions based on practice questions based on exam topics, but not too many models. I have brought spot the errors, 5 questions, and I have brought the para jumble from an international magazine. So a bit challenging. Let us go to editorial vocabulary. The first word, tweak. The broad outline of the editorial, it is all about today if you take euthanasia, it is not legal in our country. Because it is not legal, the Supreme Court has given certain directives and the editorial opines there should be some sort of legal dimension to this. So it is all about that. And the very first word, tweak. Tweak has two different meanings, part of speech, verb. One meaning goes with everyday English to pull or to twist someone, but that is not the meaning used in the context of the editorial. Here, tweak means to change something slightly, to make slight changes, especially in order to make it more correct, effective, or suitable. So, tweak in this context, the Supreme Court has made a few changes to make something better. That means the norms related to euthanasia. It's an important word, but do remember it has got two different meanings. Norms, an important word, though we have got many a time. Part of speech, noun. Norm singular, norms plural. An accepted standard or a way of behaving or doing things that most people agree with. It is a norm, means it's a standard. Euthanasia, this editorial is all about this. This is a key word. The act of killing someone who is very ill or very old so that they do not suffer anymore. Someone is very old, he doesn't want to continue, and someone is suffering some chronic disease and he can't bear the pain is acute or severe, then he may request, he wants the life to be ended. In that case, he may take the help of the medical fraternity. Then it is known as mercy killing, or it is like ending one's life, mercy killing. And euthanasia is goes with effective English. You can also say assisted. We cannot use the word suicide. Suicide has a negative connotation, whereas euthanasia has a positive connotation. So, though you have written assisted suicide, the very word suicide does not go with the context, but in a way, literally, it is right, but not from usage point of view. Stringent, we have got many a time. Part of speech, adjective. Usually it goes with rules, stringent rules. It also goes with the laws, having a very severe effect or being extremely limiting. Stringent means very strict. And if you take the word strict, very strict, sometimes what happens when it comes to rules, we use the word stringent. And when it comes to law, imagine some law is very strict and not a bit democratic. We use the word draconian, draconian law. That is also an important expression you have to remember. Turnout, I think we got last week. Turnout is a phrasal verb to happen in a particular way or to have a particular result, especially an unexpected one. Turn out to be a success. So usually it has a positive connotation. Turn out a phrasal verb, an important one. Surmountable, an important word. Surmountable, insurmountable, part of speech adjective. It goes with a problem or a difficulty or a hardship. What does it mean? Some problem or some hardship or some difficulty is so great that it cannot be dealt with successfully. You have a problem and it is very difficult to deal with that particular problem, then we use the term insurmountable problem or difficulty or hardship. Obstacle as a simple word, part of speech noun, something that blocks you so that movement going forward or action is prevented or made more difficult. Here you have to recollect words like bottleneck, impediment, Impede, verb form, impediment, noun form. Obstacle, bottleneck, and impediment all are related words. Then we have the word coercion. This also we have got many a time. Part of speech noun, the use of force to persuade someone to do something that they are not interested in, or hurdle also you can use. They are unwilling to do. Someone does not want to do something, then you try to force. Then we use the word coercion. Means what? Using force. Induce, inducement, the noun form. In the editorial, it has been used as a noun. Here, induce is verb. To persuade someone to do something, to make someone do something. Consent, a familiar word, part of speech noun. And what is the example? He has given his consent or she has given her consent. Means what? Permission or agreement. Owners, we have got many a time, an important word though. Part of speech noun, the responsibility or duty to do something. Generally, we say the onus is on the management. Means what? The responsibility or duty goes with the management. Endorse, this goes with the field of advertising. You got the word prodding the other day. So endorse a product. As I said, it goes with advertisement, it goes with business context, and the typical combination endorse a product to make a public statement of your approval or support for something or someone. It could go with usually it goes with a product, but sometimes you can endorse a particular policy or a particular organization, an NGO, and it goes with celebrities. A particular celebrity comes and says, "This is a very good product, use it." That is like endorsing the product. Scrutiny, part of speech noun, scrutinize, a verb. The careful and detailed examination of something in order to get information about it. You examine something carefully. That means you are scrutinizing that. And the noun form, scrutiny. Promote also, you can say a simple word. Comprehensive, an important word. Complete and including everything that is necessary. Usually, this word goes with a syllabus, a policy, a particular undertaking, comprehensive approach, comprehensive syllabus means taking every dimension into consideration, complete. And I also use the word comprehensive, you have to remember or recollect the word holistic. Holistic also means comprehensive, taking everything into consideration. Repository, very good, holistic. Repository, an important word. Part of speech noun, a place where things are stored and can be found. It is like you store certain things at one place. That place is called a repository. It may go with information, it may go with things. Ascertain, part of speech verb, it's a regular verb. To make certain of something, to confirm something in a way. So these are the words from today's editorial. I would like to remind you guys here you see some words in red, they go with vocabulary. And you see some words have been underlined, they go with grammar. That way, important, you can consolidate your grammar knowledge. Warehouse goes with products, business, but repository goes more with information. There's a difference when it comes to usage. Warehouse, it goes more with products, whereas repository goes more with information. And if you store, keep money at one place, that is known as treasury. That has a different connotation altogether. So, end of life decisions. So, what is this about? A person decides to end his life, or his relatives decide that person should not continue because of a particular problem or a particular chronic disease. End of life decisions. But the main idea of the editorial, the Supreme Court of India's tweaks. India's, here it is in possessive form, tweaks. Tweak is a verb, but in this context, it has been used as a noun. As a verb, what does it mean? To change something slightly, to make slight changes so that something can be improved. So the Supreme Court of India's tweaks to advanced directive norms are welcome. And tweaks, changes regarding what? Advanced directive norms. These norms, the word norm means a standard, accepted standard, related to mercy killing or euthanasia. So the Supreme Court of India's tweaks to advanced directive norms are welcome. That's a good thing, the editorial opines. But the word but introduces the contrasting information. But legislation will be better. Here, are welcome, it is in present tense, but legislation will be better. It has to be legalized. That will be better. Will be better, it is in future. So sometimes students ask me, sir, can we use different tenses in the same sentence? This is one example. My answer, yes. Based on, it is not a rule that you have to use a particular tense or a few one or two tenses in a particular sentence. Based on the idea, we use a particular tense. So here, something is welcome. It's a fact. It isn't present. But legislation will be better. It refers to future. So here it is in future tense. One clause in present, the other clause in future. Absolutely no problem. So from this, what do you understand? At the outset, this is about euthanasia or mercy killing. And the main idea of the editorial, Supreme Court has made a few tweaks, and those things are welcome. But the best thing would be, what will be better? Legislation will be better. There should be a law. That's what the editorial opines. While the Supreme Court granted, here it is in past, not while, when the Supreme Court granted legal status to the concept of advanced medical directives, one unit, in 2018 and allowed passive euthanasia, allowed this also in past, passive euthanasia, subject to stringent safeguards, it was seen as a vital recognition of both patient autonomy over end of life decisions, and the right to a dignified death, a lengthy sentence. But what does it convey? When the Supreme Court granted legal status to the concept of advanced medical directives way back in 2018. Now we are in 2023. We are talking about the changes after 5 years. So way back in 2018, and it granted the legal status one thing, and it allowed passive euthanasia. As I said, there are two types of mercy killing. One is active, the other one is passive. What is the difference? Active means you give a lethal dose of medicine to kill the person. That is known as active euthanasia. And passive euthanasia means you stop the treatment, and then it is known as passive. The Supreme Court gave the legal status one thing, and it allowed passive euthanasia, but there's a condition. Subject to means condition. Subject to stringent safeguards. Stringent means very strict. Safeguards, some sort of protection. So when it gave the legal status and allowed passive euthanasia, how was it seen? How was it perceived? It was seen as a vital recognition, an important recognition of two dimensions, two things, of both one, patient autonomy. Autonomous means independent. Patient autonomy over end of life decisions. That means the patient has the independence to decide whether to continue to live or not. And the right to a dignified death. Miserable death, dignified death. Imagine there's a person who has a chronic disease and who suffers a lot, and there's no solution for that. And if he continues, in a way, it becomes miserable death. That is not a good thing. But he allows someone to kill him, then it becomes a dignified death. So here, this sentence talks about one, providing the legal status and allowing passive euthanasia, provided they maintain stringent safeguards. That is one thing. And when the Supreme Court did this way back in 2018, it was seen as a vital recognition of two things. One is a patient's autonomy, the other one, a right to a dignified death. But grammar point of view, there is one word here. Common error, a lot of people say both as well as. That is a wrong combination. Both takes the word and. They have given in many exams. Do remember the combination. Both as well as wrong. Both and is a right combination. However, so the Supreme Court gave the legal status and it provided the advanced directive norms. But what happened? However, another contrasting word. Doctors later found that some of the specific directions turned out to be insurmountable obstacles. That's right. So here, though the Supreme Court provided the legal status and provided certain directions, doctors later found, and this is an important word exam point of view, We have two words, later, later, latter, latter. Later goes with time, latter goes with position. So very important exam point of view. Doctors later found that some of the specific directions turned out, proved to be, emerged to be insurmountable, something that cannot be dealt with. Obstacles. Obstacles means hurdles, bottlenecks. Based on that, in a recent order, a constitution bench modified the directions because the doctors found later some bottlenecks or obstacles, and these obstacles insurmountable, not possible to deal with. They made a few changes. In a recent order, a constitution bench modified the directions to make them more workable and simple. So in the past, way back in 2018, not workable, not simple, a little complicated. But the recent order tried to make these directions more workable and simple. The advanced directive no more. So to justify that statement, the editorial provides information. The advanced directive no more needs to be countersigned by a judicial magistrate. In the past, a judicial magistrate was to countersign, but now it is not required. No more needs to be countersigned. This is in passive voice. You need to do it. It needs to be done by you. So here it is in passive voice that you have to consider. No more needs to be countersigned by a judicial magistrate. Instead of that, instead, it could be attested before a notary or a gazetted officer. We don't have to involve the judicial magistrate. All that we have to do, it could be attested before a notary or a gazetted officer. It could be, it talks about a possibility. It may be also, you can say, but maybe chances are more, could be chances are less. Instead of the magistrate, it is enough if the notary or officer is satisfied that the document is executed voluntarily, that no force, without coercion or inducement, and with full understanding. So we don't need the magistrate, provided if it is enough, it is enough if the notary or officer is satisfied. If they are satisfied that the document is executed voluntarily, no force involved, without coercion means without force, or inducement. Induce means to persuade someone to do something. Even that has a negative connotation. And with full understanding, the person understands fully, no force involved, then we can manage with notary or officer. We don't have to bring in the magistrate. The original guideline that the executor should name a guardian, should name. Here again we have a helping verb. Should has got two different functions. One, it is used to advise or suggest someone. The other one, it is used to express a possibility, chances are less. The original guideline that the executor should name a guardian or a close relative who would be authorized to give consent means permission to refuse or withdraw medical treatment, that goes with passive euthanasia, in the event of the executor becoming incapable of a decision. Imagine the executor cannot take the call, decide in the event of the executor becoming incapable of a decision. Then they can provide that right to the guardian or a close relative. Has been modified to name more than one guardian or relative. Now, a lengthy sentence, what does it mean? The original guideline, see here, the Supreme Court has come up with new guidelines or new directives. The editorial compares way back in 2018 what it was and now what it is, the differences or the changes. The original guideline that the executor should name a guardian means only one, or a close relative who would be authorized to give consent to refuse or withdraw medical treatment in the event of the executive becoming incapable of a decision. There is a situation where the executive cannot decide, then he has to name a guardian or a close relative, and that person will be authorized to give the permission. But the new one has been modified, and whatever you see underlined, grammar point of view important, has been modified means what? Which tense is it? Present perfect, passive voice. They have modified something, active voice, something has been modified by them. Present perfect, passive voice, an important one. To name more than one guardian or relative. In the past, only one, but now more than one. That is a change. Instead of the magistrate being tasked with informing family members, I am really surprised, but a pleasant surprise. While taking classes, regular classes, we tell our students family members wrong. We have to say members of family. But if you take languages, they're dynamic. Every language has birth, growth, and death. And today we have a few languages like Latin. It's a dead language. And because of this, languages are dynamic. We have a concept called modern English or current English. Family members, modern English, it comes under current English or modern English. But standard British English, family members is wrong. And this is from the Hindu paper, do remember. In the exam, you come across family members, do remember it is wrong. And you have to think of the phrase, noun phrase, members of family. That is right. Instead of the magistrate being tasked with, this is also in passive voice, being tasked with informing family members about the document in case they are not present at the time of its being executed. It's being executed, an important one. Imagine the members of family were not there. In the past, earlier, the magistrate would have the task, would be responsible to inform the members of family. But present, the onus is now on the persons themselves to hand over a copy of the advance directive to the guardians or close relatives named in it, as well as to the family physician. In the past, it was a onus, responsibility was with the magistrate. But now, on the persons themselves to hand over a copy of the advance directive to the guardians, the person himself or herself has to hand over a copy of the advance directive to the guardians or close relatives, plural, not singular, named in it, because now the new one says not one guardian, more than one, as well as, this is an important expression, exam point of view, to the family physician. Besides guardians or close relatives, they have to hand over the copy to the family physician, if at all they have one. That is a bit rare in our country. So, why is this important? As well as, if you take certain expressions, conjunctions, which we use to join two subjects, expressions like with, together with, along with, as well as, like, unlike, nothing but, no less than, and rather than, any of these, the verb agrees with the first subject, not the second subject. In many exams, they've given a sentence like, the minister as well as the party workers have been arrested. That is wrong. The minister as well as the party workers has been arrested. Because of as well as, the verb agrees with the first subject, that is a minister singular, has been arrested. It may also be included in the digital health records. And this may also be included in digital health records. That is another point to be considered. The new guidelines require the hospital itself is an emphatic or a reflexive pronoun. Reflexive pronouns are very important from the exam point of view. So are emphatic pronouns. There are two rules, in fact. One rule, we cannot begin a sentence with a reflexive or an emphatic pronoun. At the time of the interview, they say, tell us about yourself. Some candidates may say, myself and the name. That is wrong. Never start a sentence with a reflexive or an emphatic pronoun. You have to say, I am so and so. My name is so and so. And people make a mistake. They use a reflexive or an emphatic pronoun in place of a personal pronoun. That is a common error. They tend to say, my friend and myself went to that place yesterday. Wrong. My friend and I went to that place yesterday. It is correct. The new guidelines require the hospital itself to constitute a primary medical board. Now there is a responsibility on the hospital to emphasize the hospital itself to constitute, to form a primary medical board to certify whether the instructions on the refusal or withdrawal of treatment should be carried out. So hospital has to constitute a primary board. For what purpose? To certify, to decide whether the instructions on either refusal or withdrawal of treatment should be carried out. There is an important phrasal verb here, carry out. Carry out means to execute, to implement, to do something. And don't get confused between carry out and carry on. Please carry on means continue, but carry out means to execute. The hospital should also form a secondary board. One is primary medical board, and the owners on the hospital, it should also form a secondary board. And this secondary board should include a few people. Who are those people? Including a doctor nominated by the district's chief medical officer, which will have to endorse the primary board certificate. Now it is about two boards, the primary board, the secondary board. The primary board certifies whether to go ahead or not, either treatment to be stopped or to be continued, refusal or withdrawal. And the secondary board, in this secondary board, there is a doctor nominated by the district chief medical officer. And the secondary board, what is a function which will have to endorse, approve the primary board certificate. They have to approve. The board has to approve. And there's one important expression over here, will have to. Students can understand have to. It's a helping verb. What is a function? It is used to express an obligation imposed by an external authority or a situation. But here you have will have to. This refers to an obligation that goes into future. Then we use a pattern, you will have to, they will have to, it will have to. An important expression, pattern. The change here is that, now what is the change here? The change here is that the district collector need not constitute the second medical board as required in the 2018 judgment. In 2018 judgment, the district collector was to constitute the second medical board. Now the district collector, he or she doesn't have to constitute the second medical board. That is a change. The scrutiny by the boards, the primary board and the secondary board, scrutinize, to examine something carefully. Holds good, this is an important expression. The rule holds good, I say quite often. It means what? It is valid. The scrutiny by the boards holds good even in cases in which there is no advance directive. There is no advance directive. Imagine a situation where there is no advance directive. In that situation also, the scrutiny by the boards holds good. It is valid. But the patient is not in a position to make any decision. Situation, no advance directive. At the same time, the patient is not in a position to take or make any decision. The new guidelines also spell out an important expression. It goes with common errors. I told last week. A common error, a lot of people say, please spell it out in detail. That is wrong. Spell out means to say something in detail. Then you cannot say spell out in detail. That is redundancy or superfluous. That you have to recollect. The new guidelines also spell out the experience and specializations of those to be included in the medical boards. They need experts and those with experience and expertise to be included in the medical boards. While such guidelines are useful and necessary to implement the concept of a living will and advanced medical directives, it is time Parliament came out with a comprehensive law. I think this is how the editorial ends. No. So here it says, on the one hand, such guidelines are useful. While such guidelines are useful and necessary to implement the concept of a living will, decision to decide whether to live or not, and advanced medical directives, it is time Parliament came out with a comprehensive law. These are all the directives, not legal, not law. So the editorial opines, it is time Parliament came out. This is an important expression. I don't know how many of you know. When we use the expression, it is time, please listen very carefully. When we use the expression, it is time or it is high time, then the verb should be in the past form. It is high time, or it is time that you worked hard. Verb should be in past. Based on that, it is time Parliament came out, not come out, came out with a comprehensive law, all inclusive law, or holistic, complete. How does the editorial end? Such a law could also provide, if at all they do that, what is the benefit? Possibility. Such a law could also provide for a repository. It could provide for a repository, an important word, a place where things are stored and can be found, of advanced directives. So that, and if you have a repository of advanced directives, what is the benefit? So that the need to ascertain afresh every time its genuine nature does not arise at the time of its implementation. So, it is time you wrote the letter. Very good. Perfect. That's how the editorial ends. In a nutshell, these are the directives. The changes are the directives from the Supreme Court, but the editorial opines the it should be a law. There should be a law. So Parliament has to make it a law, and that will be it could be a sort of repository for reference. And every time we don't have to ascertain the genuine nature of that particular aspect. An important editorial. Now let us go to questions based on reading comprehension skill related to this particular editorial. Comprehension based on today's editorial. What is this editorial? They may not ask in the descriptive paper, but you may get as a passage in prelims or mains. And if you write, definitely that will help in the long run. What will be better in the context of the editorial? So, what are the key words over here? What will be better? Something will be better. What is that? What was seen as a vital recognition of patient autonomy over end of life decisions. Again, key words vital recognition, patient autonomy, independence over end of life decisions. Easy to answer, but you have to navigate, locate, then you find the answer. What do the new guidelines require? New guidelines require something. What are they? What do the new guidelines spell out? The new guidelines spell out something. What are they? Easy to answer. I have brought questions based on exam topics and I've just started. Usually I bring 20 questions based on four exam topics. Each one 5 questions and 4 into 5, 20. Each one is like a mini mock. But today I have brought only two. Error location. Read the sentence and try to spot the error. In 2001, the US and China were able to dial down tensions after a collision among a US spy plane and a Chinese fighter jet over Hainan Island in China. So, where is the error? Here you have four parts, and fifth part is no error. So, do remember, fifth part is also very good. Who is this? Vasudev, the first one. Wonderful, within no time. And others also, like Jyotsna and Sairam. Here, the sentence refers to two things. One, a US, that also you have to keep in mind, not an US, a US spy plane, one thing, and a Chinese fighter jet, another thing. And the difference between the prepositions between and among, we use the word between when we refer to two things or two persons, and more than two we use among. Here, two, so we cannot use the word between among, we have to use the word between. And if you're a smart learner, here you have to recollect the difference between among and amongst. What is the difference between among and what is the other word here? Amongst. Both are used when we refer to more than two persons or more than two things. But if the word after the preposition begins with a vowel letter or a vowel sound, then we have to use the word amongst. In one exam, they gave a blank, they gave two words amongst, but after the blank, they gave the word us. Something has been divided, blank us. Us begins with a vowel letter, a vowel sound. Then here we cannot use the word among, we have to use the word amongst us. That is what you have to recollect. Go to sentence number 2. By fielding candidates in 2022 non-tribal seats, the Motha have been trying to reiterate that it stands for Tripura for all, stirring up the state's politics. See, all these questions, initially I'll bring easy ones, slowly I'll raise the standards, but you got to read meticulously, only then you will be able to spot the error. No one has responded. Question number 2. First one, have seen the response within no time. Now I see Vasudev, Jyotsna, then Verma, and Virat, hmm, Sairam, all those, Ganesh, good, Suresh. Here, the motha, have been trying, present perfect continuous tense. But how do you decide whether you have to use a singular verb or a plural verb? You have a clue here. Have been trying to reiterate that it stands for. This is a clue for you. It stands for means singular. Then we cannot use have here. We have to use has. Has been trying to reiterate. I use this word regularly. Reiterate means to stress something. Present perfect continuous tense. Please read the third one. A major earthquake struck Turkey and Syria on Monday, killing more than 2,600 people and flattening thousands of buildings as rescuers dug with bare hands for survivors. A lengthy sentence, and context is very important. This you can answer based on contextual awareness. A major earthquake struck Turkey and Syria on Monday. On Monday, past, it is in past, struck, no problem there. Very good, Sairam. Killing more than 2,600 people and flattening thousands of buildings, no problem. Here, no problem, no problem, no problem. As rescuers dug with, not bare. Here we have to use the word bare hands. I could not handle passengers. Who is this Ganesh? I will conduct a few sessions. Please wait, Ganesh, in the app and wait for 1 or 2 days. I will definitely do that. As rescuers dug with bare hands. Bare means what? Uncovered. And the typical combinations, generally we say barefoot. You have to enter a temple with barefoot, uncovered, not using your footwear. And here, based on that, we have another combination bare hands, not wearing gloves or something. And we also use one more bare body. Bare body means nude without clothes, bare body. And this is an important word, bear. Bear can be a noun, an animal, brown bear, grizzly bear, polar bear, teddy bear. Bear can also be a verb. As a verb, it has many meanings and important from the exam point of view. And if you take a bear, bore, born, we have two forms, born, bear, bore, born. Another verb, bear, bore, born. What is the difference? This born means to give birth. And here, bare infinitive without two. Very good, Ganesh. I appreciate that. BORNE means to carry something. And we have combinations, waterborne diseases, airborne diseases. So they have given in different competitive exams based on these two come under confusing verbs. Born, born. You got to be careful. Bare infinitive means what? The basic form without two. That's really good. Timely one. Please go to question number 4. This is an important one, not easy under pressure, but there is a clue. Carry something. Yes, Lata. That is the right word. Section of doctors oppose district residency program, calls for withdrawal of scheme. Where is the error? In my opinion, this is an important question in the sense, under pressure, not easy to spot the error. Not exactly called for, not right. I still appreciate your response. Called for, again, not correct. Called for, not correct. No one has got the answer. That's why I said this is not an easy one, especially under pressure. Answer my question, what is the subject of this sentence? Subject is section, and of doctors is a phrase. This is a subject. Put the phrase in brackets. Section is like a collective noun. Collective nouns usually take a singular verb, a singular pronoun. Based on that section, a particular section, it is considered singular, opposes. And here we have call spur, opposes, call spur. Nothing wrong with this. There is an error in the second part. Section of the society, section of the section of doctors. Here the subject is section, which is a collective noun, like a group, a team. Then the sentence is in present tense, affirmative form. Subject is third person singular. We should add s or es to the verb. Based on that, oppose is not correct. Opposes, and parallel expression calls spur. Nothing wrong here. I hope you guys got it. An important question. Let us go to the last question based on the exam topic, error location. An artist gives final touches to a painting of businessman Gautam Adani, highlighting the ongoing crisis of the Adani group in Mumbai. This is also not an easy one. Purely based on contextual awareness. Hello, sir. At this stage, I'm about to close the wind up the session. One more exercise or two more. Crisis, no error. Vasudev. Here, there's a possibility. Crisis, singular. If you know that, crisis, singular. And what is the plural of that crisis? This is purely based on contextual awareness. Now, this group, Adani group, is facing one problem or many problems. Crisis or crisis, singular or plural, many problems. So we can use the word crisis, many problems. Based on that, answer is the fifth option. I appreciate those who have answered no error, really good, highly appreciable. No error whatsoever. It refers to many problems. So crisis. This is an para jumble exercise from an international magazine, an important article. It is in the limelight right now. I don't know how many of you know. Read and try to get the correct order. Crisis, plural, no error. Every day I start at 7 p.m. Today's same day's editorial, live session at 7 p.m. Every day, same time. Any technical issue I may postpone, but I inform. 4 out of 5 is wonderful. Virat, I appreciate. First, when you try to deal with para jumbles, you have to take the elimination approach and you have to get the topic sentence or the sentence with the main idea. How do you take the elimination approach? There are certain clues. The latest example cannot be the first sentence. In 5 days after it's a pronoun cannot be the first sentence. On Wall Street, in corner offices, newsrooms, and classrooms around the world is Chat GPT. Again, cannot be the first one. Making it a pronoun cannot be the first sentence. Every so often, a technology captures the world's imagination. Hold that one. Created by a startup called, so here, drew 1 million users cannot be the first one. What is the first sentence over here? E is the first sentence. It is about a new technology. Every so often, a technology captures the world's imagination. E is the first one. Think of the second one. So usually writers, what they try to do, they make a statement and they try to give an example. They try to justify. For that they use, for instance, for example, the latest example, any of these phrases. Sairam has written all the three. So here the second one, the latest example, judging by the chatter in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley, there is a comma. means incomplete. On Wall Street, chatter, chatting at different places. What are those places? In Silicon Valley, on Wall Street, in corner offices, newsrooms, and classrooms around the world is ChatGPT. So answer is C. EAC. AC one pair, a pair. AC, not F. No, 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 Sairam. F is what? Created by a startup? No. Please look at it. Ganesh has got it right. Please look at the two sentences. You all got E. Perfect. Very good. But after that, the latest example, judging by the chatter in Silicon Valley, comma, on Wall Street, in corner offices, newsrooms, and classrooms around the world, the latest example is ChatGPT. Judging by all these places, they have been talking about that. What is the next one? B. In 5 days after its unveiling in November, the artificial intelligent chatbot. So next one is B. What is the next one? Continuity. Very good. Here, in 5 days after its unveiling in November, the artificial intelligent chatbot created by a startup called OpenAI drew 1 million users. So here we have to use BF, making it because it drew 1 million users within no time, making it one of the fastest consumer product launches in history. D is the last one. So what is the correct order? EAC BFD. If you have got it right, you should be happy. Let us go to the last slide. Test your word power, enrich your word power based on today's editorial vocabulary. First, you identify the part of speech, then you write the meaning. If one student responds, then I will write it. I'll give you time to respond. Tweak. I think a few students have got the correct order. That's really good. Tweak could be a verb, it could be a noun. Please write both. Verb, noun. They have tweaked, verb. They have come up with a tweak, noun. So what does it mean? Answer is a G. Change something slightly with the intention of improving something. Very good. Answer is G. Norm singular, norms plural. That means obviously it is a noun. What does it mean? An accepted standard. It's a norm, it's a standard. Answer is J. Euthanasia, the editorial is all about this. Mercy killing, part of speech, noun. Act of killing someone who is suffering or who is very old so that he does not suffer further. He or she does not suffer further. So, what is the answer? A is the answer. Third one, noun, A is the answer. Go to the fourth one. Stringent rules, draconian law. You have to recollect. Part of speech, adjective. Means what? Very strict. Answer is H. Consent. He has given his consent. Consent means what? Noun. And what does it mean? Permission or agreement. That's right. Coercion. Use of coercion. Use of something. That means noun. Means what? Use of force to persuade or convince someone to do something. Where do you have that? Use of force to persuade. Answer is I. What is the seventh one? Onus. Onus, part of speech, noun. Onus means what? Responsibility or duty. Where do you have that? The responsibility or duty one has to do. D is the answer. Endorse, it's a regular verb. Endorse, endorsed, endorsed. Part of speech verb means what? Publicly approve something or encourage something. Here, what is the answer for the eighth one? Has anyone answered? Approve publicly something. Usually it is done by celebrities. They try to endorse a particular product or sometimes a service. Repository, part of speech noun, means what? Place where things are stored, usually information. And the answer is place where, F is the answer. The last word, scrutiny, noun. Scrutinize, a verb. What are you left with? E is the answer. Careful and detailed examination of something. So that's all from today's editorial. I hope you guys have got enriched. Do remember to subscribe and share. Good night to all of you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. But always remember, try to write answers that will help in the long run and try to focus